Greetings. My name is Sabrina Lowery, and I am affectionately known as the Tech Evangelist. Welcome to another episode of Geek Talk, where we give entrepreneurs expert knowledge. And in today's broadcast, we are going to be talking to a master storyteller and learn all about what it takes to brand your story, create your message, and be an influencer to your community. So, with that being said, I'd like to welcome those of you that are here for the very first time on our broadcast to comment where you're tuning in from, who you'd possibly like to see on another edition of Geek Talk. And if you're interested in being on the program yourself, please take a moment and go to sabrinalowery.com where you can apply, and your submission will be entered for the months of April, May, or June. So, with that being said, I want to also let you all know we are live across Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube with a little behind the scenes on my Instagram page at Sabrina Lowery. And you will be able to catch the replay on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and so many more of your favorite podcast platforms. So let's jump right into it. Let's make sure that you are putting all your information in so we can bring you into the podcast. And if you have a question or comment for me or our special guest, I want you to be sure to put it in the comments. So, while we take this little studio break, I want you all to know about a very important upcoming book launch that we have with the Ladies and Tech and Friends, Volume 4. And we will be hosting our book launch in the month of March. March 21st, we will be at the Family Life Center in Towson, Maryland. And we want you to pre-order a copy of the book today. That QR code is up on the screen, or you may go to my website at sabrinalowery.com and learn more about the Ladies in Tech and Friends Volume 4. Now, let's get into the conversation. I don't want to postpone any longer our special guest. Let me get her information here so that we can read her bio. And then we're going to make sure that she has everything that you need for y'all to connect and collaborate in the future. So let's welcome to the stage Naye Liggines, known as the Gem Dropper, she is a faith-based driven author, speaker, execution strategist whose purpose is to help people show up as their full authentic selves and build what God has called them to do. Naye is based in the Metro Atlanta area and works with entrepreneurs, creatives, and visionaries who are done with shrinking, second guessing, or delaying obedience. She helps them gain the clarity, the confidence, and execution strategies so that their ideas and their businesses and callings move from intention to action. She is also the host of the Elevation Talks with Naye Liggines podcast, where she drops her gems at the intersection of faith, life, love, and purpose, guiding listeners through real conversation about alignment, leadership, and building with God at the center. Ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce and welcome Naye Liggines.
What's going on, Sabrina? First of all, thank you for the intro. Every time I hear that bio, I'm always amazed that God did that. Like literally, that did not exist a year ago. And so, oh man, obedience, you know?
Absolutely. That's what I like. I love being obedient. I love following God's plan. And so
Yes.
we're going to dive right into that conversation because even though I read your professional bio, let's tell the people what you do and who you do it for, Naye Liggins style.
Man, okay, so I am an author, a speaker, an execution strategist. At the core of everything I do, I help people get aligned with what they've been called to do. And I do that with structure, storytelling, and execution. A lot of times, people don't struggle with, ideas per se. They struggle with actually going full throttle, getting it done. And a lot of times people are building alone. And so that's literally where I come in. I've actually had somebody recently put a new title on me, which was it was a first for me. I've been called a purpose doula. So literally I help you birth what you have been called to do and show up authentically as yourself. So that's literally who I am and who I do it for.
I love that, Nay. And here's what I want the people to know is something that they won't find out about you on Google. So tell the people a little something using your master storyteller vibe.
Okay. So something that they won't read about on Google is I have been a dream chaser my entire life. At a very early age, I saw myself always just being somebody. I knew that I was going to be somebody. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. So I actually started off as a music artist, going under the name Naye Songs. And so literally, I put my music out there and I was performing and my top places that were streaming my music was like Japan and just a lot of different international places. And my first single, "On and Poppin'," charted top 50 hip hop and R&B during the time. And Kanye West was on there, Sierra was on there, K Camp, Fetty Wap. So that is something that people won't be able to like connect to me right off the bat. That would be something you would just have to know just from relationship.
And that's exactly why the people have to tune in to the Geek Talk podcast, isn't it? Right. So I want to give some shout outs and bring some comments into the stage. And thank you so much, Joanna, for tuning in. It is always a pleasure to have your support. We thank you so much. And they're live streaming all across the country, ladies and gentlemen. I want to give shout outs and props to all of those that support us each and every day. And regardless of what platform you might be finding us on and tuning in from, I am going to invite you to, even if it's on the replay, to connect with Naye or me and let us know that how we can connect, collaborate, and create these opportunities together, right? So, Naye, let's shift the conversation. All right. What's one thing that you feel is your superpower?
Honestly, I feel like my superpower is clarity. I feel like as like I can usually like hear someone talk for a few minutes and then I immediately know where they're misaligned and where they're overcomplicating something. And so, like, as an author and as the host of Elevation Talks, I do spend a lot of time with people just like unpacking identity, cycles, and purpose. So, the other side of it as an execution strategist, though, I don't just like let people stay in reflection mode. And for me, I'm like, okay, what are we building though, and so that right there for me, as we start to really like flow, it's layered but it becomes just something that's natural, and that clarity shifts to them and they're able to take charge and do whatever they're building.
I love that. And here's my thing, when you start to have that level of influence in someone's life, it almost turns into therapy a little bit, right?
Yes,
So it turns
absolutely.
into more than just being a coach, a business
Mhm.
consultant. And so then that's where that faith driven message comes in to the way that you work with entrepreneurs. So I want to think about what are some of the unique challenges that you may have faced along the way that made you figure out I am the solution. I am the answers to someone's prayer. Talk
Mm.
about that.
Honestly, I think when it comes to unique challenges and me just understanding and accepting, because that was the struggle for me for a long time, because I have spent so much time building by myself. I often felt like I would be around people. And I would always tell people, especially like my family and friends, don't ever tell me you want to do something, because I am going to be the person that's going to push you. Like, we're going to do it. An idea hate to see me coming, a to-do list hate to see me coming. Like, so one of my biggest challenges has been just accepting the call of, hey, even if the people around you aren't moving, there are people that actually need you. And there are people that want to hear your stories, want to actually understand how to take an idea and turn it into reality. Like, but you have to find your people. And that was something that I struggled with. I would always just pour, but not have the understanding that everybody is not assigned to me, right? And so that's when I started getting clear about alignment, understanding that, okay, like before you ever get to work with me officially, I do an alignment call. I want to talk about purpose. I want to actually see if we are aligned and I'm a good fit for you and you're a good fit for me before we keep going. And so that to me has been the most unique challenge, is just really accepting the call, because I'll be honest with you, Sabrina. When God called me and he said, hey, I want you to be an author and a speaker, I'm like, whoa, wait, nah, get somebody else to do it. Like me? No, you can't have that plan for me. And so he started showing me how he's actually been preparing me for this moment the entire time. And so it was literally like the challenge was just saying yes, because I started automatically thinking about how I was not qualified to do what he's calling me to do. And so once I got that out of my brain, that if he called me, I am qualified, I am chosen, I am, the blueprint. And from there, literally every day, no, it's not a walk in the park, but there is another level introduced to it. So that's what I would say is the unique challenge for me.
Yes. And so with every challenge is that test. And
Hmm.
with every test on the other side is the testimony. So now let's talk about how you faced those obstacles head on and what you did when you started listening to God's direction for your life plan.
Intentional time. I never wanted to get ahead of myself. Even when a person that I was working with called me their purpose doula, I never wanted to start getting wrapped up with the titles, because they are going to become a distraction. And I never wanted to get, how sometimes you get big headed when you start, executing, you're doing it and you're seeing the momentum and people getting fed, and you got the testimonies coming in and all of that. And so I just wanted to continue to make sure that I was going in the direction that I was supposed to be going and doing what I've been called to do. And so it's really just me every day. I have intentional time with God. And that intentional time for me is literally, there's no distractions, there's no cell phone, there's nobody else. It's literally just private time with me and God. I'm asking for instructions. I'm also giving him whatever I'm carrying, and just that is like my energy booster to help keep me from the noise and what's going on. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that 100%. And, there are also opportunities such as the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center Milestone Circles program when you start listening again,
mhm.
but not just listening, but actually moving.
Mm-hmm.
taking action,
Yep.
and making an executive business decision that will change the trajectory of how you move and who you move with. Talk
Mm-hmm.
about that experience and how that program gave you that focus and that discipline in order to take charge of your business at the end of last year.
Wow. So the NASDAQ program, the milestone program, really, I got accepted 3 times before I took it serious. And I would keep putting it off. It's like I was already moving in one of my other businesses. So I never just dedicated time to actually like slow down and see how it could benefit me. And so literally it got to a point where God had to slow me down. I'm talking about the business slowed down, the money slowed down, the client slowed down, just everything. And I felt like I was just in this corner. And I was like, okay, Lord, like, what is it that you have told me to do? And I keep putting off or I'm not doing. And so actually, this opportunity comes back up. And I'm like, okay, let's just go after it and see what happens. What's the worst thing that can happen? Right. And so literally, I joined, I got in, I got accepted. And the first week of just understanding what the program is, the different people that you can meet. I ended up meeting my mentor, which is Lauren Graves. Major shout out to Lauren. But literally, my group of women that would meet up every Friday, it was just so, it was like it was the group of people that I needed. I kept telling God that I wanted more purposeful friends, more purposeful connections, because like I said, I have been building by myself the entire time, and I've been operating my own business since I was 18 years old, and I'm literally in my 30s now. And so I'm the blueprint in my family. I'm like I am the dream chaser, which turned into purpose chasing. And so, literally, just getting connected with my group of women, I would actually show up every week. And I also met you, Sabrina, during that time. And I remember even just seeing how you had your layout, where it was like, wow, so there is someone else that understands, like, you can wear several different hats and you can be in several different lanes, but still show up exactly as who you are. And so for me, I feel like I had so many people in my ear that weren't building anything. And so they had that mindset of, hey, you can only wear one hat. And so I always felt like there was like a roadblock for me, because I'm like, God has blessed me with so many gifts and talents. I would box myself in if I would just wore one hat. And so literally just getting connected with you ladies, it gave me the green light to show up as myself and just be who I'm going to be in whatever room I'm going to be in. And so when I took that lens off of just worrying about what people who are saying that's not building anything, it really changed the entire path that I was on. And so now I do show up as an author, a speaker, an execution strategist. I also do production as far as show running. I'm a writer, like just all of these different things. And so I can say it confidently now without worrying about if somebody is thinking, oh, it sounds like she's all over the place. No, I'm not all over the place. I just have a lot of different talents that I'm really great at. And so which person do you need today, you know? And so, yeah, just the program itself really helped me. And I still show up even to this day. I still connect with my mentor. I still connect with Sabrina. I still connect with just so many different people, because it has given me that that entrepreneur space of just like community. You have other people that's building, and they're in different phases of whatever they're building. And it's just good to know that you're not alone, because again, when you are building by yourself, sometimes you just feel like you're the only person that's going through it. And meanwhile, you could hit the group chat and maybe drop something in there that you might be experiencing, and somebody else could drop the same info and they're like, hey, I was experiencing that this week too. And so now you got community. And community is key when you're building anything and even just living life. Like community is so necessary. So I'm really grateful for the program. I graduated in December, and I also got my picture posted on the Nasdaq Tower, which was really dope. And it was really, it was just a shock for me that like I was getting fed the way I was getting fed, and it was like I didn't even know that this was the thing that I was missing.
Yeah.
So it was phenomenal.
Oh, I'm so excited for you, and congratulations on being one of the newest milestone graduates. And I hope that you will be traveling in July to Seattle for the Milestone Summit once they continue making those plans for us to be there in person. It is going to be amazing. And so let's shift the conversation, shall we?
Okay.
So we are in Black History Month, celebrating all 28 days long, right?
Mhm.
Or should I say all 365 days
Come on
long?
now.
So, with that
Mhm.
being said, in your opinion, what are the most important qualities for Black women
Mm.
to cultivate success in their business?
I think self-awareness is huge. I think it's really important that you know your lane. Um, Sometimes we're going to be presented with so many opportunities, and every opportunity is not going to be for you. And this is where your discernment comes in, so that you can see if this is aligned and this is for you. And I would also say execution discipline. Ideas, they don't pay bills, systems do. And so, honestly, you know ownership, when, like, we have to stop just building on platforms and start building our assets, books, curriculum, shows, IPs, or intellectual property. Like, to me, that's where the real power is. So that's what I would say, is like the qualities that I feel like us as Black women definitely need to make sure that we're cultivating in this space.
Okay, and so you dropped a Nay gem for the people. And so I had to put that up in the broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, the quote for today is ideas don't pay bills, systems do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you getting a whole virtual applause on that one, my dear. That was one of the gems as our storyteller, master storyteller, and special guest, Naye Liggines, is here with us dropping gems. So that was awesome, Naye. And I want to give another opportunity for those that are commenting and here with us to give a nice welcome. And yes, thank you so much, Joanna. We are working to do a great job in every community that we serve. And again, everyone, welcome to Geek Talk, where we give entrepreneurs expert knowledge. And so when we talk about these cultivating communities, I thought this would be a perfect segue for me to throw in a little bit of a infomercial about an upcoming workshop that I will be doing that is very, very timely as we think about this community building and what we're doing for the people. So on Monday, I have a workshop, 90 minutes, content, courses, and community, the AI Advantage Masterclass, which is the last part of a 4-part series that I've been teaching that helps entrepreneurs, small business owners, and the like create systems, products, and utilize AI in their businesses. So, this upcoming Monday, we are going to be doing the work, showing you the master prompts and the platforms to use, such as your Perplexity, Notebook LM, Google Gemini, ChatGPT, and Canva AI, along with some of the tools that build community, such as School, SKOOL. You all have heard of and seen the LinkedIn groups and the Facebook groups, and you wonder, are these the platforms that we need to be using to build community or no? Well, we're going to deep dive into that, and I will fast track you in this masterclass so that you are able to get that content created, get those courses created, or simply build community. This is a free workshop you can attend by going to buildyourbusinesslikeaboss.com. Let me throw that banner up on the stage so that you all can register for that class. And you can also use my website in order to register for that class. This is the Digital Confidence and AI Skills Masterclass, and it is all about building the content you need purposefully, intentionally, having that evergreen content. You know, those courses that people can take while you're sleeping, and that building of community, like Naye said. So, this will be the fourth part. And if you are interested in upgrading to VIP so that you can get access to all of the previous classes, then guess what? You can upgrade and get all the recordings, all the digital e-guides with those master prompts. And I hope to see you in my Zoom room on Monday. So that's how we do it, Naye. We let the people know where they get the business, how they can show up, and not only show up, but how they can support a Black owned business.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So thank you so much for that. I'm ready to shift gears one more time in our conversation, as we do have a few minutes left in the conversation.
Okay.
So let's talk about motivation. Let's talk
Mhm.
about that inward versus outward. And are
Mhm.
you intrinsically motivated, or do you need external motivation? Tell the people a little bit about that. How do you get motivated, stay motivated, and then motivate your audience?
Honestly, Sabrina, I don't actually rely on motivation. I rely on obedience and structure. I can remember when God literally first put it on me to create elevation talks. And at first, it did start with just me dropping gems and uploading it to various social media platforms before I actually started the podcast. And there was times when nobody was watching, right? And so there was also seasons where I was writing my books, writing my shows, curriculum, and literally it was just quiet. But, over time I've learned that delay doesn't mean denial, right? And so it usually just means development. And so I've literally had to just zoom out, learn to trust the process and just keep building. And so that's my way of how I keep myself grounded and keep going, and also be able to push other people to go, because sometimes you're not going to feel like doing it, and that's where your obedience has to kick in. That's where obedience is going to show up and save you, where it's like I have to remember to trust the process, even though I might feel like this is not picking up any traction right now. This is not, this just feels like I'm just doing it to be doing it. Sometimes that's what obedience feel like. And as you're doing it, you start to build out what that structure looks like for you.
Yes. And I love that, because something that you've always told me when you're doing your milestone circle meetings with us is the fact that the timing, okay? So the timing initially was not on your timeline, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which meant that you weren't supposed to be in those rooms at that time. And
Mhm.
so I had to throw that gem up there also, because I need the people to know that delayed also does not mean denied. So,
Mhm.
what that in fact means is that you might actually have been protected.
There you go.
And so
Absolutely.
tell everyone about how that protection works when you are pivoting, Naye, because this is such a powerful lesson that you gained over those 12 weeks that I need the audience to understand how transformation truly happens when you tell your story.
You know, you did mention protection, which at first, honestly, it doesn't feel like that, right? It doesn't feel like I'm being protected. It honestly feels like I feel like I'm supposed to be in a specific room and I don't have access to it and I'm in my feelings right now. You know, that's what it feels like off top. But as you continue to dig, I remember one day on the call, a lady was asking, if I take the time to do this, is this going to bear any fruit? And I thought that was such a good question because I told her, if this is what God has called you to do, it's going to bear fruit whether you like in a way see it or not. Now this comes the challenge of now you're having to kind of rewire your mind to see what that fruit actually is. Sometimes we just recognize fruit as, oh, we got in the room. Sometimes the fruit is, hey, we just figured out a new system that can help facilitate this business a little better. Fruit can also be, hey, I just got a connection, I just built a relationship with somebody that I wouldn't have been able to connect with had I been in a room that in the room wasn't ready for me to be in yet. And sometimes we get so caught up on just where we feel like we want to be, and we don't want to take the time to actually let the transformation happen. Even when we talk about pivoting, sometimes we look at pivoting as, you know, in a way, something that could be looked at as like, oh, okay, you're quitting. And it's like, no, sometimes seasons cause you to pivot. I might have to put this down for a season and focus over here so that when it is time to pick up this again, all of these things can flow, because that's what God's going to do. He's not going to waste any seasons. And so literally when, we talk about all things working together, that includes those pivots. That includes those moments of, transformation. And you're only going to get that transformation if you're actually setting aside self and just digging in, even when you don't necessarily feel qualified. That transformation really starts to begin, and literally over time you'll find yourself like, wow, I didn't even know that I needed to do this or go through this process. And now that room that you wanted to enter, it's already prepared for you. So now when you walk in, it's going to be a walkthrough season versus maybe had you got in that room prematurely, you wouldn't have survived. That room, you wouldn't have been able to be your highest self or your best self had you not been prepared. And so a lot of times that's what that pivot is doing, is preparing you, is prepping you for that next room, for that next mountain, for that next season. So that's how you got to look at it.
I'm excited to hear that because some people sometimes need permission from others to
Mhm.
motivate themselves. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening to the sounds of our voices, that is your permission granted.
Mhm.
That is that motivation extrinsically that you needed, that you did not otherwise intrinsically have. So, y'all just do a little research on Dr. Google on what intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation is. Yes. And so
Mhm.
we are live on Geek Talk with Sabrina Lowery and friends. And I am now bringing my TikTok audience into the conversation. We are on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and wherever your favorite podcast platform is. And what we are talking about now is the power of storytelling from
Mhm.
a master storyteller. Naye Liggins. And Naye has been not only a mentee of mine, but she is an avid supporter of women businesses and an advocate for all things branding. So when we shift our conversation, Naye, and we start thinking about that branding piece, right?
Mm.
Let's drop some gems on our entrepreneurs just before we close out on what is it that they can do to tell their story in a powerful way that not only generates and attracts their leads and their ideal clients to them, but actually creates some cash opportunities at the end of the day.
Every strategy is going to be different for everybody. This is why it's important to make sure that you get aligned with what you're supposed to be doing. Some people might be called to do a podcast. Some people might be called to do a book. Some people just might be called to connect with people in smaller spaces or small groups. And so, it's not about, in a way, following the biggest trends or just figuring out what everybody else is doing and going to do that. Because I'll actually speak on that. There was a time where it was like a wave of like telling everybody, hey, create digital products. You can make $10,000 if you just create a digital product and you make, and so there were so many people that was thinking like, okay, hey, I can do that. And then they would do it and then they wouldn't have the same return as the person, who might have put them on to that project. And so, that's why for me, it's about going back to purpose, alignment. Even when it comes down to telling your story, be authentically yourself. And sometimes us as people, we kind of struggle with that because some people don't actually know who they are outside of, work or their friend group or, whatever. So for me, I would say when it comes to storytelling literally it started with just conversations, me just dropping gems. And then dropping those gems turned into, you know what? Let's turn it into a podcast. Let's take it from social media, turn it into a podcast. And now we're literally all over the world. Every time I look at my analytics, I literally see people checking in from Canada, Ghana, Russia, all over the US. And it's just like, wow, I didn't, in my mind, I wasn't thinking about that, right? And so, even with my books, Finding Your Exit Door and Mentality Makeover, I recently just finished the audio version of it. And so now both books are now available on Audible. That's an entirely completely different audience as well. So, it really just comes down to ownership, what you can do with your story, is bigger than just making money today. You need to think about, so even Sabrina, how you spoke about like the curriculum of classes. This is stuff that people can do while you're sleeping. These are the systems that you want to create, and the best way to do that is to do the things that you are called to do. And I'm talking about whatever that thing is that's itching you, whatever that thing is that just it can't leave you alone. You won't leave it alone. Lean into that, whatever it is, and figure out how to elevate whatever that is. And also remember, all you have is all you need. When it's just start. I always tell people this because they focus on what somebody else is doing and how somebody else started. It's not about how they start, it's just about you starting. And as you continue to go, you can keep refining your process. I always tell people, in order to go off the script, you first need to have a script to go off of, right? So, literally, build out your flow and just keep trying, keep going, and then you'll figure out what works for you. And I'll tell you another gem. As you're doing this, clarity comes after obedience. And this is why I said you have to get in alignment, because you might not have had a thought process or a way to generate revenue from one angle, but as you're going through the process, you're starting to see, oh wow, I wasn't even thinking about that initially. It can also turn into this. So literally tell your story. Don't be afraid to hear your own voice. That's what I would say.
That's powerful. And again, we're dropping gems with Naye Liggins, ladies and gentlemen, who are here on Geek Talk, where we give entrepreneurs expert knowledge. Thank you so much for dropping those gems, Naye. The audience is loving the feedback. I've got several viewers on the live, and so we are pulling our audiences across all of the platforms and cross pollinating our audiences, which means our reach just grows and grows. So if this is some content and some information that you like, share it. Don't be stingy with the information. We are not gatekeeping information. We are givers. We are giving, and henceforth giving entrepreneurs expert knowledge. Yes. So if
Absolutely.
that is what the people need, that is what we're going to give them. All right, so the last question that I have in our transition is all about what's next for Naye? What
Mm.
do you have on deck? And what
Mm.
makes you excited about waking up?
Mm. So what's next is like I said, I just literally dropped two of my audiobooks. So Finding Your Exit Door and Mentality Makeover is now available on Audible. And also, I got selected to be a featured speaker for the Black Writers Weekend that's coming up in Atlanta this August. And also, literally just making sure that I'm making time to rest. For a long time, and even as an execution strategist, it's easy to get caught up in the movement and not remember to pause, reflect, and rest. So that is what I'm actually looking forward to. Just maxing and relaxing, as Will Smith would say.
I don't mind that at all. Look, permission granted. Yes. And that's one of the perks that we actually do have when we are entrepreneurs is that flexibility to
Mhm.
dictate when self-care is
Yes.
the priority. So, congratulations and kudos to you for closing out the year with a bang, kicking off the year with all the intention. And
Yeah.
all I know is that great things are coming your way. So,
Thank you.
Naye, let's share with the audience how can they work with you? How can they contact you? And I'll go ahead and drop that in the bottom feed.
Okay. So if you want to basically like work with me, you can find me at nayeliggins.setmore.com. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Naye Liggins. You can also connect with me via LinkedIn. And if you want to just kind of get a few more gem drops, I have a newsletter that I have through elevationtalks.com, and it's called The Right Time. So I always just make sure the gems come right on time when you need it. So yeah, there's several ways you can connect with me and build with me, and yeah, let's collaborate. I'm excited to see what's going forward.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you so much for being my guest tonight. This has been an amazing episode of Geek Talk, where we give entrepreneurs expert knowledge. And this podcast will be available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your favorite podcast. Be sure that you spell geek as the acronym GEEK so that you can find us as soon as you type in the text and then subscribe, save, download those podcasts. I have a goal to grow my podcast audience to at least 100 downloads and subscribers every week that I bring entrepreneurs on to give expert knowledge. And so I need your support, your help in order to make that happen. So, what that means is that you will find us again on your favorite podcast platform or just tune into the live every Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern Time. Naye, thank you.
No, thank you for having me, Sabrina. I appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been another amazing episode of Geek Talk with Sabrina Lowery and Friends. I want to invite you one more time to just remember our upcoming Ladies and Tech and Friends Volume 4, Building Careers Not Meant for Us. And this will be coming to you live in Towson, Maryland, March 21st at noon. And the book is available on my website for pre order now. Go to sabrinalowry.com to learn more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in and have a great rest of your day. Till next time.